Bow! PopMart. PopMart.com. PopMart.com. So yesterday I made a video. I was watching this website. My wife mentioned to me that um, essentially these guys right here. See 'em? So these guys right here are very difficult to get to purchase. Um, there's an issue happening. This is not the issue. This is irrelevant. But so yeah, this website here, popmart.com. If you guys haven't heard too much about it, see here, but there's a clip about um, some commotion when people try to purchase the products in PopMart, they get stuck here. Ew. Saw that? So they try to purchase. Pew! That's how it feels like when you're able to purchase, right? All right. Back to the website. So I made a video yesterday, and I was really I was looking at the website, and while I was looking at the website, um, the things that I was trying to look into were uh, you know errors. Somebody mentioned that every time to purchase, they try to purchase. Essentially, my wife went to try to purchase these kiddos over here. Um, every time the la boo boo, you're gonna scan it, you're gonna scan it, you're gonna scan it. No, all right, but this guy's here. Um, and their website, it's right here. So whenever they drop, their site needs to crash. So it seems to crash essentially when you're in the shopping cart when you get to this page. Uh, 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 Here, right now it loads amazingly well. And you can see right, like these guys are out of stock. So let me just remove them. What is the problem here? So while I was looking at popmart.com, um, I encountered a few issues, or I saw a few issues. I actually looked at the website for 2 minutes, navigated through it. I figured out, right, I looked at the source code. I noticed that it was built using Next.js. Next.js is a solid framework. Whether you like to admit it or not. Recently, they had some whatever, and I think they did excellent. So excellent execution on Lee Rob on Lee Robinson on picking up that um, and stated what needed to be stated. I thought it was excellent, um, excellent execution on that part. But today I want to talk about a problem that um, is kind of very difficult to find, um, and that's pretty much it. Essentially, it's very complex to find, and the only way I could go about this is this is the reason, or one of the reasons why you should have a coach in technology. And I am a fractional CTO, and most of the people don't know what that term is, but essentially is a technical leader that does this type of analysis for your company. So essentially, what I am going to do is I'm going to take popmart.com like if they were my client, um, and maybe the reason why at the beginning of this, right, like most of the companies when they start and they look for a coach in tech or a fractional CTO, which is the actual term. Um, they delay a little bit too much, and then you encounter this you will encounter issues down your path, um, that could have been easily resolved by having different strategies. Um, and what I'm trying to say about all of this, is essentially that, it doesn't matter what the actual problem is here, right? I could go in here and tell you, well, the developers did this, or well, your QA, is failing because you don't have the right? I can say that, well, you know, I could have endless excuses on why this has happened, or why the reason occurred, or why the issue is happening. But other than addressing that as such, let's talk about what it is, and let's change the mindset a little bit of like pointing fingers. Because right, as a coach, as a mentor, you don't. That's not what you want to do. The idea of you coaching, is allowing the person to go to the next level as quickly as possible, right? Removing roadblocks, mental roadblocks that you have, and in tech is not so different. It is actually the same. So, um, let's talk about here. Let's go back into popmart.com, and let's talk about what the issue is. And you know, even though you can see that the site is pretty smooth right now, we could do a quick lighthouse analysis just to go and see, you know, where's the stats, right? So essentially, what I'll do is I'll just go through a quick diagnosis. This is just, something that everybody should do. Um, but essentially, right, like this would be the 2 seconds of me working with PopMart.com as if they were my client. This is the first thing I'll do. I'll go into the website, turn this guy on, and see what's going on. So I already know it's built on Next.js, so I'm already expecting pretty good performance. As you can see, there's a lot of images in here. They loaded, even though these images are optimized. Good job, right? Like that's what you want to do. Just don't have the framework carry all your weight. So right, this is excellent execution on their part, right? Like even these images, I can tell you right now. But we'll check it out after as soon as it's done. Okay, so let's look at the numbers. So they're actually really good on XEO, best practices, right? It's just, but what's going on over here? Let's talk about this guy a little bit. So it's taking 3.6 seconds. The biggest problem I'll say is this one here, right? 12 seconds, and as we can see here, this is what happens. So when the website loads, it took this long for the header to show. It took this long for some of the attributes to start showing. It took this long, right? Boom, 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 and it made it all the way to this point in order for the user to be able to interact with it. So essentially, in this scenario, it took 12 seconds because obviously Lighthouse was running. Normally, the regular user will be around this time period, but essentially this is bad, right? Like this is pretty bad, and there are ways to fix that, and we can talk about what it is, and how to avoid this. But essentially, this is not it. This is just one of the problems that we encounter by running this tool as me running a simple diagnose, right? learn, guys. This is like bytecoding 101, right? Sorry, I gotta adjust my labubu over here. Okay, so right, there's a lot of stuff over here happening. Boo, 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 boo. Nothing to. I've seen worse. So this is not that bad. Simple stuff, simple stuff, simple stuff. Right, that just means. All right, no biggie. I'm not concerned about this. This is bad in many ways. Um, and let's talk about why this is bad. Let's just go here and what would be the gains if this were to drop to less than 3 seconds. Go. All right, so while that's going there, let's talk about something. So I mentioned this is Next.js. This is the performance of the site. Nothing too much to worry about. We can talk about this later. We closed it. That's not a big issue. What we really want to talk about is what happens when you go and add one of these guys here. New arrival. Puppet. Right. I go out to cart. Nothing here is a problem yet. There is still going to be issues, and I'll explain later why. But right now here, as you can see, the site is very fluent, no issues. But when you get here, I'll make it bigger so everybody else can read. But when you make it bigger, here there's some stuff happening, and let's just refresh it. I'm gonna clear the cache and refresh. Right, so this is document. Let's show everything that's happened here. In this case, right, everything worked. We got a 200. But in the case of when there are too many orders, what is happening here, and essentially what the root cause or the issue, or the best way to explain it will be to look at this guy here, right? He talks about the issue here.
In my app directory, I have our root layout, which is setting up the initial document, the HTML and the body of our page.
Right, so he's going to talk about route groups in Next.js. Right, I mentioned the PopMart is using Next.js. This is that framework, and Rob is explaining what route groups are, and showcasing how to use them. So let's continue to watch this for a second.
And then I have a folder for login. So this is actually going to make /login in my application. Inside of this page, I have a React component that displays when I navigate to /login. And this looks different from the rest of my application. So how do we do this? Well, the entirety of my logged in app is underneath this route group. So I denote this folder using parentheses. So I have dashboard.
Right, so he goes in there and he's going to showcase essentially what you need to do in order for this to work. We don't need to watch the rest of the video, but essentially, right, like, come on. Anyways, moving on. So let's step back a little bit and why I wanted to talk about this. So as we heard about the issues, I went into perplexity, and
Hey there, if you've ever been ready to check this is by Spider and it has been
woo. All right, so jumping back into the subject. So here he's gonna talk about these are the route groups, right? And in the framework, it explains here that if you add parentheses to this folder, it allows you to have these route groups. What does that do, and what does that mean? Ooh, let's dive a little bit deeper here. Let's go into here. The problem. Let's talk about the problem. What is the problem? Can you tell me what the problem is? If you were to look at this website, I saw it. Obviously, it's not going to do it right now. Or they'll probably fix it because I already made the video yesterday and I kind of tagged them on TikTok. Told them that the middleware was clogged up. Right? But how do I know this by just looking at this website for 2 minutes? Even if I even look at the code, I didn't even have to look at the code to understand what the issue was or how this site was giving a short circuit, right? Because essentially this is what's happening. You know, there is a voltage leak happening in PopMart.com, and me, Coach Juan AI, is going to unplug the chaos. I'm going to unplug the chaos. All right. So, what is the issue and what is happening? Essentially, here, they're using the router group, and when they do that, there's some caveat, and the caveat are here. These are one of the issues that you have when you use that. The routes in different groups should not resolve to the same URL path. For example, boom, 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 boom. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What is this? What does that mean? Sure. Let me show you. So essentially, when you're here, let's do what? When you're here, let's move it around. Can you move it around? Yep, you can move it around. So when you're here, and then you go here, right? In Next.js, these are routes, right? And since they're using internalization, this route is set here by default. So this route is actually slash whatever the locality is, right? So that's a route, and this is also a route. So in this case, they have large shopping cart, right? So what is the problem here? So I mentioned to you that they're doing the following, right? And inside of cart, now what they have here is that plus that. This is what it has, all right? It has small, right? So you get the message. So what's going on here? Here It's essentially that. Move these two guys here, right? Internalization, router group, right? And so the issue that they're experiencing here and what was happening without going too crazy is that essentially the mixing the logic, because the caveat which is explained here in the top level root layout, if you use multiple root layouts without a top layout file, make sure your home route slash is defined within one of the route groups slash marketing slash pages, right? So this is the sample that I have here. So what do they mean by that, and where is the issue here? And how did I find this issue so simple, so issue? But this is not just a simple. This is one of the issues. There's actually another issue happening in the internalization package that I'll dive in a little bit later. So stick to the end because I'm gonna dive in a little bit deeper. Like I said, I'm taking them like if they were my clients, and this would have been worth like $1 million consultation with me as their coach, right? So let's dive in further into what are the issues here and what I find out in the 2 minutes that I look at this website yesterday. So we got this issue and we got this issue. I explain what these are and what they're doing here. So essentially they have multiple layouts, right? And you can see them here. You have multiple layouts, and this cart here, this section here, is a layout, but it's also a route. Okay? So it's a bit confusing because they have two. So let me elaborate a little bit better here. Let me take my time. Right? As you can see here, they have right. So this is what's going on. Problem, solution. Oh, by the way, so this is the model. Mr. Grant Cardone, in the undercover billionaire, he was set up to build $1 million company from scratch in just 90 days with $100 in his pocket. These guys right here are worth, they generate about what, 2.5 billion, and I charge $1 million to fix this issue, but I'll do it here live. I'm breaking into content, so this is the part where hi, how you doing? I used to be hitting in the back. So I want to use this model and actually implement it as I start creating content. So today is day one of my goal of reaching my personal goal, which would be, I'm not gonna tell you just yet. Sticking to the end when I tell you a little bit more about what my goal is, but actually it's pretty similar to Mr. Cardone over here. Okay, moving on. So back on over here. What is the issue that PopMart is having in their website? And like I mentioned, is actually two. There are two issues happening here. One is the internalization package, and two is the middleware. And you're gonna say, but why the middleware? And how do you guess this just by looking at the website for 2 minutes? And I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I just knew. But I actually encountered a very similar issue about a year ago when I was working with this website here. Um, hey, she doesn't sell these guys here, but she's an amazing makeup artist, friend of mine. Amazing. She just had her second kid, so congratulations. Yeah. So essentially, when I was working with her, uh, building her website, and I'll probably do a use case on her later on if you guys want me to. I'll probably do a little deep dive more into what I built for her and how we moved her from Kajabi to actually owning her own personal brand, but not just her personal brand, also the infrastructure behind it. But anyways, we could talk about that later. This is what we came to talk about today. So essentially, I want to showcase right like the issue that we're having here, and as you can see here, right, locality space is the same ish, is the same type of website, and you can see here, right, as you saw in PopMart, right, we have our routes, locality, translation, internalization, right, internalization, then routes and routes. But the issue we're having here is one that you see here, and you're gonna see that right now again once I switch pages. Oh, by the way, you saw how fast this thing loads. And if I go back into the same page, it just automatically jumps. Very snappy website that I made for her. But essentially, let's go back over here and see what the issue is. So in the other website, when you go into internalization and you switch languages, whoa, show how fast that thing is. Right, and another thing that we did for her is that we expanded her brand into also now having Italian as another language added into her website, and it was just a breeze to be able to have the switch. Um, so if later on tomorrow she wants to say and add a new language, it's literally a matter of 2 minutes doing it with me. But anyways, moving on and on and on and on. And to be fair, right? Let's do the same comparison as if they were, you know, they were my client and I went through go do a simple diagnose, just an overall simple diagnose. Okay. Right. So this is what you want to try to aim for. Obviously, traffic is going to impact this, and her website is not as traffic as PopMart. What I'm trying to showcase here is that we encounter the same issue here, and we were able to fix it, and that's what I'm talking about. And actually, I'm going to show the code on how I fixed it, so maybe PopMart can take a look at it, and maybe they can actually fix their issue, because if they could go and turn their site to look something like this, right, this is definitely you know, will take their website to the next level. And they don't have, right, like something that I want to talk about here is that they don't have a scalability issue. It's not the problem with the bots attacking them. Yes, that's a problem. There's ways to solve it, many different ways. I could give you 10,000 ways of how to solve that problem with the bot, the bots attacking the site. And like I said, this is not perfect, right? Like there's already one over here, so there's something that's deprecated, some fonts, Okay, cool. So, but right, and this is what you were trying to want to aim for. So, if you are a startup and you own your own business and you care about what you own, right? You have that owner mindset, as you should as a CEO. Then you should care about your business, and your business should be represented as such, right? And it's plain blank serial. This is live. This is her website. You can see this is the performance. Obviously, like I keep saying, she does not have the same amount of traffic, yet who knows? You know, maybe tomorrow she gets more traffic than PopMart.com. But if she does, you work on it. I know she's super busy right now taking care of the family. So, but let's go back to La Boo Boo over here, PopMart.com. So essentially, I just want to showcase that real quick. It takes 2 seconds. I would have done that with any other clients. It's not just because she's my client and yes, this is the results, but essentially, this is where I can take you, and this is my experience, and this is how I work with my clients. So if you like how I work and this resonates with you, hi, welcome to CoachOneAI.com. I'm starting. Today is my first day, so essentially, if you go there to the website, it's going to be boring, but again, right, this is the model, and this is what I want to take it. I'm starting today as a content creator, and this is my step into the leap of faith. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, um, and sure, this is my way to dive into it. So I figure, what is the best way to jump into something? um, Finding a problem. So essentially, a problem kind of landed on my lap, and I was like, whoa. I looked at the website for 2 minutes after my wife was frustrated for 2 weeks trying to get these guys right here. And now we got them. We had to go pick them up at the mall to be able to get them because we couldn't get them how we wanted them. And when we got them, how we got them, and we got them. But yes, anyways. So essentially, this is a problem that you can fix by um, having the right coach at the right time. And for me, there's nothing to brag about what they're doing wrong. There's nothing that they did wrong. Anybody could have made that mistake. QA could have caught it. But again, it's such a difficult problem, and you actually don't. Once you see the problem happen and how the short circuit is happening in the system, very difficult to defer and actually find it. And once you do, not only that, like I'm sure the developers would have been trying to debug this issue and look at the problem, or maybe they have not cared. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just shooting blanks over here. But what I can say is that since I'm starting to create content, I figured to, what is the best route? The best route will be to tackle a problem, and why not? Let's tackle a big problem, and this one seemed to be one. So moving on, what is the issue here, and how I came about figuring out and finding this issue in just 2 minutes after just looking at the website. Like I said, I had experience. Right, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is what I'm talking about.
Who are you? I'm Pam. Who are you? I'm the owner of this house. Oh.
Who are you? Hi, I am Coach JuanAI.com, and I'm here to help you fix your technical short circuits. And the best way to go about it is showcasing, showcasing, showcasing. So like again, if they were my client, I would have helped them fix this quickly, But again, I have not seen their code, so for me to say anything is very difficult. I'm actually just speculating here, but due to the fact that I know more or less, my speculations are pretty close to being accurate. So, again, this is where I'm at, and this is the video that I was talking about. Let's talk about So everybody's trying to buy PopMart. The website slow. Everybody, PopMart. So I started to look at the website, and yeah. So this is me looking at the website. I have not spent too much time on it. I decided to just go live on Instagram, and I was like, okay, let me, I want to, like I said, I'm jumping into the leap of faith into this content creation. Um, it's something that I had in the back burner, and I'm jumping in, um, and I just wanted to showcase, you know, that what it's like to look at a problem from a high level, how to solve it, right? And not only that, but due to the experience that you have and you gain over the years of solving problems, you're able to find a problem like this one, like this, right? So, um, all the AI in the world right now, even agentic, we don't have been able to find that issue. Um, and not only that, they will. And essentially now they're just seeing this, they will. But even the code itself would not have triggered an issue just by scanning through it, right? So the AI, even if they're trying to look for, like, find a bug in my code, um, they probably would not have found it. And if they did, they would have fixed it. So that is my guess. That is my guess. My guess is that they've been vibe coding with this and they have not been able to find the issue, or they have a huge team, and you know what happens when you have a huge team in corporate world. It's just gonna take what, 2 weeks for that to get set up as a user criteria. Then 2 weeks for that to get set up as a task into the backlog, and then another 2 weeks to you get the message. So it's gonna take a long time for them to be able to tackle this issue. So I decided to just jump in here and give them a little help because these guys are cute and a lot of people want to buy them, and you don't have a issue that is massive. It's actually something that you can fix right now. So yeah, just the only thing is that I charge $1 million. So where's that money? JK, not JK, nothing. All right, moving on. Built on Next.js, which should be pretty solid. So what is the Billy O? What is the problem? I think I know. That's how I found it. I think I know the problem. Watch, look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Okay. Yeah. So they're using Next.js, and they're using this. That's what it is. So 1, 2, 3, and then. Yeah. So essentially, the problem is in the middleware. No, I'm not using you, and I'm not using you. Again, I'll let you guys know what my motto is. But essentially, I don't know. I think I could surpass that. Creating content. Right now it's June 14. Calendar. Where we're on the calendar today. 6 months left. Can I make a million creating content in 6 months if I'm solving problems that are worth? Many users experience errors where unable to process their order and they get 500 internal errors. Right, so the waits are long and most of the complaints, blah 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 blah. So the server overloads, yes. During drops, yes. Uh, there's bots traffic, so they're also getting attacked. And there's complaints over in social media, YouTube, Reddit, and TikTok. So essentially, there's an issue, and it seems like this issue has been happening for a while. It's not something new. Um, so it hasn't been. It's especially as the available sources. So there hasn't been a big report saying, but the site crashes whenever they drop in the cart, and the issue is happening here. And I caught it when there was a drop, and that's when I was making the video because I could see it going, but I didn't catch the logs at the moment. But anyways, they know exactly what's going on, and I know what I'm talking about. So, anyways, moving on, they're saying that the incident has not been reported as an official thing. Um, but let's say that, PopMart's sales revenue on the first quarter of 2025 are remarkable, increasing of, 165 to 170,000 compared to last year. And the company has set an ambitious annual revenue target to be this much. Dun, dun, dun. So they're saying that they have not released revenue yet for the store, but they're saying that it's around the $2.75 billion. So if I can take their company as my client, go from what you saw here. Let's run it again, so it's not like, oh, I'm tricking you with the hard refresh or whatnot. By the way, my daughter loves the one that she has. I asked her to let me use it for the video, and she's like, nah, I keep this one. So it looks like, so each page, right? Each page is going to have um, different performance, and that's intentional, right? Each page could have a different logic happening, different layouts, different dynamics, different components, different circuits that could be triggering wires along the way. And what have I learned throughout the years of programming is that you're more of a electrician rather than a programmer. You're actually more of a plumber than you are a programmer. You're actually more of a problem solver than you are a coder. And right now we're using Claude Code to write some of the code, and by you could do vibe coding, and And even in big teams, right, like this, I'm not sure how big the technical side in the team is. So it could probably be just two people or one person by coded this whole thing. Not sure. Um, that is unknown for me and for many people. But regardless of if they are a small team or not, um, the issue happens here. And like I mentioned, it's a combo of two. So it is the internalization package and the router group. So let's cut back to this and talk more about. So we got that? Yeah. What is the problem? And I mentioned the middleware is clogging, right? The middleware is clogging. And why the middleware is clogging? Well, I'm going to show you why. Well, the middleware or what the website is landing on the card page, right? Since the route internalization happens here, then there is a route, and then there is a layout for small cart, and then there is a layout for large shopping cart, I'm guessing, or mobile. I'm not sure. They could have 27,000 of this. The issue is that they're having logic reside in the layout, which is essentially at this point is not a layout, it's a component because it's getting rendered as a children when you use route groups. And that's one of the issues. So one of the issues that they're having here is that by doing such combination is creating the middleware to go crazy and insanely crazy. And I can actually address this because I talked about in one of my videos here how, when I was building her website, by the way, 11 months ago, um, I encountered an issue and I thought it was a super base issue that the egress was getting shoot up by um, Next.js middleware. And I kept investigating on it, and the more I get triggered by it because I saw the spikes on the egress, right? Essentially, I was consuming a lot of bandwidth. And sorry, I went technical on you guys. Let me strip back a little bit. And this is what happens when you work with a tech guy. He goes dancing cuckoo like this, la la boo boo, la la boo boo, dancing cuckoo. Okay, so retracing back and what I tried to say with what I meant with that is that yes, I went techie. It's going to happen. I'm a tech guy. Sorry. So now, coming back into the subject, what I try to say here is utilizing that bandwidth and consuming that bandwidth. I, I once I caught that issue, I was like, okay, um, there's an infinite loop happening. There's a short circuit happening in the middleware, and I thought it had something to do with the router groups, and it did. And at the same time, right, I made that mistake. I also made that mistake that they made here. I learned from it. And it's actually exactly this is why I understand what the issue here is, and I'm gonna give them different ways of solving it. So stay to the end. We still got a little more time to go before I reveal how to fix it, and I'll show the code. I'll show everything on how I fixed it for her, and we got these results. So again, if you like this type of results, you can reach me at coachjuanai.com, and I'm gonna start creating content. So you're gonna see me in YouTube pretty soon. So I hope you like and enjoy this content because I'll be making more of it soon. Um, Again, my friend doing makeup, book her, book book her. This is her beautiful website. Oh, come on. Look, look, come on. But anyways, going back to PopMart over here. Yeah. Um. Well, okay. The site's not even responsive. Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing. Let's see. I give you line. Give it line. Let's refresh. Refresh. A line. It happens also sometimes with the viewports. That's why I refreshed it because I was like, I know I did this on the phone. But essentially the same route shows. So there's no other component um, in which they're doing their logic, but they might be switching them um, later on. Because this name here to me lets me know that they probably have a different layout or a combination of multiple layouts that we're not seeing here. So essentially, that's also why the crash is happening. So the middleware is going to grab the internalization, grab the root route, and then since they have multiple layouts in it, it's going to grab the multiple layouts. And each layout, they use them as pages, and they're actually components and not pages because of the router group. And that's a problem, one of the problems. So moving on. Yeah, I also made a pretty nice video about this. So like I said, they went over here, they have this issue, great, cool. So Juan, what are you talking about? You keep talking about the issue, you keep talking about it, you keep talking about it, you don't tell me what the problem or how to fix it. And I said, okay, sure, let's talk about it. Let's give them a solution. What's the solution? There are multiple solutions and multiple ways they could go about this. One is create another route. So let's see, shopping. Right? And essentially they just move it here. So what happens when they do something like this? Now by changing this, there is a drastic change in everything. And you'll say, but why? It's the same thing that it had. It's not different. You didn't do nothing different. There's no magic here. So let's look at the URL again. Boom. When they talked about router group, there's a caveat here that if you use it at the top level, you need to make sure that the home route is defined. And in this case, in PopMart, it's not defined. It's defined by internalization. Boom. Problem number 2. And then why is the middleware an issue? Well, middleware is the one creating this infinite loop inside of this page and then causing the server error. Why it happens? It happens when there's a lot of traffic. You're not gonna see it often, but when you do it, when it fails, it takes a little bit because the middleware is gonna go spiral round down the thing, right? But also they're hosting this in a server, and the server is doing also what? Load balancing and doing their magic. So, and they probably have caching, right? And they also have. So, all these other instrument playing a safety net for that to make sure that this issue does not happen. And that's how you prevent most of these issues after the fact. You just essentially throw money at it, right? But if you know how to fix a circuit, and this is why I build systems, and this is why I want to focus on creating content and showcasing my talent here as a content creator. Um, it was that, after doing this for 17 years, I can go into a site and just look at it for 2 minutes and say, a lot more people want to buy this, guys, and your website is a little bit slow. I can help you. Right? But that's like, oh, he's trying to steal. He's peachy. He's like, no. Have you ever heard or seen a developer charging $1 million to do this type of work? No. And you say, but why not? And why wouldn't I charge $1 million when this company is very profitable? So why would my time not be worth that? And why wouldn't I be able to charge $1 million? And the answer is that there is no if wouldn't what I can charge that. Hence, those are my rates. And why? Like I just mentioned, if they were my client, this would have never been an issue. I would have made sure that the system was working and being performant from the get-go. But now they can become my clients, right? And I can just show them exactly where I can take them. Here. I'm using the same platform. I'm using the same system. But I fixed the issue that has been going around for about 2 years in 2020. What? It was documented here, October in 2022, about 41 outages. I could be wrong. These are metrics that I found here doing AI, right? I utilize a coach, utilize AI to do my research about the company. I did my research about the company. I figure out what the system was. I figure out, right? I looked up what people were complaining about. My wife was a user and purchased the Lala Boo Boo. And we have right here, right? And a lot more people want to do the same. And this problem, or the solution to this problem, could be easily addressed if they had an expert on hand. And again, even so, there's so many different problems to for me even to state something like this is ludicrous, right? What I'm stating right now is that avoiding these type of problems, or thinking that this is an scalability problem rather than a distribution problem. This is 100% a system distribution problem. So they're not a problem in scaling. It's not a problem that the bots is attacking the site. The bots can attack the site all night long, right? Normally what the bots are trying to do are act as malicious users, right? And there are many ways we could prevent us from doing those things. Many different ways that we could probably go on and take 3 hours just to talk about what are the different scenarios and how we could cover your butt when it comes to those. But in this case, we're only talking about PopMart.com, and the issue at hand is, right, when you make a drop, the website goes down, and the sold out happens because the bots and that's not an issue. If they want to keep it as such, they can leave it as such, right? Like I don't think that's a problem that the bots are taking the lead into purchasing. Now the customers are will find a way to be able to beat the bots, you know. Um, Maybe that should be a challenge. We should start a challenge. Should I give should I give people on TikTok insights on how to make sure that they don't miss the drops? Or should I just go directly to popmart.com and say, hey guys, I understand the problem that you're facing. I am a coach. I'm a fractional CTO, but I had to say I'm a coach so most will understand the terminology and kind of understand what I do. And essentially showcase here that a consultation with me in 5 minutes is worth more than $1 million, right? And so I'm not trying to put a price tag on my service, and I wouldn't like for you to put a price tag on my service, rather than just displaying the fact that, right? There's knowledge. I know a thing or two, right? Like this 17 year, almost 2 decades on it. Uh, you pick up a thing or two. Like I said, I'm trying to create content, and this is a way for me to get myself out there. I didn't know what to create the content for, and I was like, man, there's an issue. There's an issue, and I'm a developer, and I would like to help these people because vibe coding is awesome, but I would have guessed that. Would you think a vibe coder would have fixed this issue, or would have been able to understand what the issue was in 2 minutes, like I did in that video that I showed you? This video here. In the next couple of minutes. Okay. That's what it is. So they're using the group routes. Yeah, and I even said it. Yep, group routes. So going back over here, what is the issue and what they're saying, what they're stating here? This is one of the caveats of this, right? They used the parentheses, but they didn't have a well-defined home route because this guy here is not well defined. So it might look like it is, but it's not. And you can see right now it's set to US here, but it's not a defined path as they want to state here. So let's define the path. That's what they need to do. And a way to do it is like so. But then if they do this, they're also going to encounter an issue. Right? And what is the issue that they're going to encounter? Hmm? What is the issue that they're going to encounter? Same one. Right? This is not a fixed route. This is not a fixed route. So they need to do two things. Then they need to decompose the middleware because there's a lot of things happening in the middleware. There's a lot of things happening in the layout. In the layout that is being used as the main layout, but it's actually a component being rendered through the children through the router group. So hence here, so if the 2 pages that they thought that they were making switches are no longer making switches, they are actually just component being rendered. They're children on the page, and you have those children act like pages, and the logic in the pages you're expecting the same behavior, this is where it's going to fail. So, how did I fix it for her here? Even though I still left internalization the same way as they did here in this path. I'm winning. Okay, so the way you could do this is simple. So you want to move the logic around. You want to move the hierarchy of the logic around to be able to be triggered at the right time. So I keep saying, if your circuit is not performing, and this is the issue is happening here, if your circuit is not performing and you're not getting the right voltage at the end of the tunnel, so the light bulb is just barely blinking when it should be outputting the right voltage all the time, even when there's traffic, right? And so obviously when there's traffic it's also gonna slow down. And yes, I know, but I also worked in a company that the company used to crash on Black Fridays, and after I left the company I don't think it crashes anymore. So anyways, I think I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and it was like pretty big company. Anyway. So yes, I understand e-commerce. I understand Next.js, and I understand how to scale their product, and I understand that if they make these changes, I could take them here. And obviously, right, their traffic is totally different. Infrastructure is totally different. They probably have, I don't know, a huge cluster and whatever that case might be. I haven't tapped into nothing. And just, like I said, I mentioned if they were my user, if they were my client, and I'm using that as a use case scenario. If they were my client, this is what I'll do. This is how I'll investigate what the problem is. And obviously, if they were my client, I'll have access to the code, and I'll be able to say, yes, we need to make this modular. We need to make sure strip away the middleware and make sure there there's the right sequence happening when you use the middleware, right? The middleware is a chain, and you want to make sure that the chain happens in a sequence. Right. Anyways, again, technical guy talking about technicality. My bad. Moving on into results. So, and like I mentioned, every page we have its own different metrics. So, and when there's traffic changes, right? Come on, like I'm not saying, right? Even let's inspect this page. Right, I went into just one page. Normally, if I would have done a diagnose on this client, I would have taken the proper time. This is just live, 1 hour, improv. Hi, I'm creating content. Like I said, my name is Juan, and I can be your coach. If you need a fractional CTO, you need a coach in tech, you're a non-technical founder, you're a startup looking to ramp up, or you're a company like PopMart that you're already there, but you're having a distribution issue and not a scalability issue like this one, um, definitely you can reach out to me. I'll be online. I'll make sure that we can document your process too. If this is an issue you're having, I'll be glad to help you because it's a 5 minute fix that is it will help your business removing this bottleneck from your business has a huge impact. And this is the other model way of thinking that I would like for this new vibe coding emerging engineers to start thinking about this is the actual route that we want to take as software engineers. We want to fix problems, and this is a problem that is worth fixing. This is a company that is worth fixing a problem, right? And not only that, that this is a company, right, or pretty, even if it was not, like I mentioned, in the beauty industry, right? When outside of e-commerce, right? There's different ball games: e-commerce and personal brand, e-commerce and personal brand, e-commerce and personal brand. But she also has in here a course. Like I mentioned, she went and moved away from Kajabi, and we built her own little empire here. And she actually don't know much about technology, but if I were to intel what all of the perks that she has included in her website, yes. So essentially, right, the message I'm trying to convey is that there's no need for the website to be slow. And this is, like, again, a personal brand website, not an e-commerce, So take it easy. All right, moving on. Going back to the subject at hand, what is the issues here and how would I go about fixing them? I said that if we went and make this change and had an actual slash shopping cart slash boom, 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 this will fix one of the problems, which is this, the separation of concerns within the layouts. When I mentioned large cart and small cart, right? If they had the logic at the layout, meaning this page here, meaning this page here, meaning this route here, right? This layout. If they had this layout being rendered as a children and not as a layout, they encounter these issues here. And the best way to solve them, like I mentioned, is creating this route, this new route, or adding this new folder, where essentially creates a new path. And then when the cart layout tries to do the logic, this one catches it. Before, the logic was happening here. Nobody was catching it. The arrow was falling down into here, and then the middleware will trigger, creating a short circuit and making the site go down whenever they drop. And yes, obviously the bots also make it go down. Yes, yes, yes. I'm not saying no, not trying to define, not trying to say, why? Oh, yes, you're stressing about the middleware. No, I'm just showcasing the fact, I'm showcasing a style, and I'm showcasing how you can make yourself, as a software engineer, or like myself, a fractional CTO that started creating content, $1 million solving difficult problems. Not just vibe coding into the next bolt, the next lovable, right? I could do that all day. What's the purpose of that? What would I be competing or trying to make the same thing? It's like when I started my journey, you know, I wanted to build a CMS, and I started building a CMS, and that's when I started my journey here. The good old PHP days, right? You guys don't even know anything about Dreamweaver, so or my first website's Flash. Okay, moving on. So now that we have these beautiful frameworks that we can work on, um, you can avoid these type of mistakes just by taking a little more time understanding what the framework and how the framework works, and diving deeper into, okay, the framework is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Be graceful about it. If you were to do it by yourself, which you can't now, right? No, I'm not saying no. Tech stack, yes, I know, I use it too. But they're also a rapper, right? So he's also a framework. It's just a slimmer framework than this, giving you the same thing, but they're also a framework. So yeah, if you look at the code, you'll know what I mean. Anyways, moving on. So yes, if they do this and they remove the logic from the page layout, this one here, where they're doing logic and saying if the user is logged in, if the user is not logged in, blah 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 blah, move them to another route. Hence the middleware is getting triggered. Hence I mentioned the clogging, clog happening in the middleware. It's gonna create an infinite loop of misfire fireworks and crazy bandwidth consumption. Hence the problem with the server, and this will fix it. So now let's talk about the code. A lot of this, a lot of showing, a lot of what, but I just want to give you a mental model, how it works, how it works with clients, how these guys can reach more people want to buy them when they drop. Even if the bots are attacking, more people want to buy them. And I can help you do it if it's too difficult for your team. But essentially, I'm going to show you here because I fixed this problem for her 12 months ago. And let's just diving into it. So, yep, let's bring in cursor over here. Bam, 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 bam. So, let me go ahead and close everything here. And let's talk about what I was talking about, the middleware. In this file, you will find this composed middleware, which essentially has internalization, it has an OAuth middleware, and it has some protected routes, right? I'm not gonna go into depth into what all they are and what it could be, blah blah blah. Essentially, they're very self-explanatory. The developer in your team, right, will be able to know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just showcasing so the whole audience can understand what I'm doing, right? The newcomers can understand how to sell themselves as an expert. And for myself, hi, like I said, I'm creating content. I want more people to be able to buy these guys. I saw a problem. I have a solution for it, and I'm gonna showcase it. So, like I mentioned, internalization is a problem in the middleware, and as you can see, at least on my setup, I have the module. It is more modular. It's not, their setup is probably not set up like this. It's probably one file with a bunch of stuff there, long file, or maybe multiple files. I'm not sure. I'm not judging. However the code is, as long as the code is working, you know the model. Moving on. So like I mentioned, I worked on this website a long time ago. I think last changes were about 9 months. Yep, about 9 months. but it was set up like about 8 months, 12 months ago, 11 months ago. Regardless, when it was done, it don't matter. This is irrelevant to the point. All I'm trying to showcase here is proof of how I fixed it, how they can fix it, and you know, removing this block from your circuit is going to allow your distribution system to scale. And now you won't have that server issue. You will still need to tackle the bots. The bots still an issue. You still need to do something for about that. And I can give you a solution to the end of the video on how you can do that. And I'm sure you already know by now. There's TikTokers in there that actually non-technical requesting to please put CAPTCHA on the thing. So you want me to vibe code it and just give you the whole thing right now and just give you an npm package so you can install? Like what? How simple of a process would you like me this to be, right? And that's where I can tell you we can excel in promoting our services. And hi, if you are a six-figure earner, software engineer, like, you know, you can showcase yourself this way and you'll be able to land a lot more clients, guarantee. But anyways, moving on. Fixing this problem as if they were my clients. Like I said, I have not seen their code, no clue what it looks like. Not trying to judge the coder, nor what them. That's not the whole idea. I'm not batching on them or what it is. I'm just trying to showcase them as a user or a client of mine and how would I have gone about fixing their problem. So, like I mentioned, the middleware is where the problem resides, and it has to do with this guy here. Not really, but and it also has nothing to do with this here, but the actual issue happened. Not the actual issue happened. Here. So let's talk about this setup and why internalization is a problem and how you can fix it, and make sure you avoid this problem because most of the people that use this package are facing this problem right now today. So here you go. Hi, like I said, I am Juan, coachjuanai.com if you want to find me. I'm starting to create content today, and this is what you're gonna get from me if we work together. Yep. So as you can see here, this is that file, and so this is the file that I want to talk about. Where is the issue and what is happening? Can you look at it and tell me what it is? I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Look at this file. Compare it to yours. Right? Compare it to yours. The file that I'm talking about is this one. Compare your file. I'll zoom in. You want it bigger. Compare your file to mine, and tell me what you see different. Got it? No? Okay. Let me go back into the beginning. This is how the file. This is the beginning of the file. This is when I installed the module, the package. It comes like so. As you can see here, I made a change, right? I made a noise change to the file, and essentially came to find out after going through my process and understanding what the issue was and how to remove the issue. If you place a debugger on your line 9 in your i18n.ts file, line 9, place a debugger there. You don't know how to place a debugger? Sorry. Ask Claude. Ask ChatGPT. They'll help you. But moving on here. So what I ended up doing is this. See it? Cool. That's what I did. So you can do it too. Got it? Cool. The other thing that I did was this. This is my middleware file. Clean. It could be better. Yes. I'm not judging. Again, you shouldn't judge my code. I'm just saying, I'm not judging yours, don't judge mine. I'm just saying, we don't have this issue. We fixed it. I caught this issue before even hit production. And that is the message I want to per se. While I was working with her in this project 13 months ago, when I initialized the project and I started working with her, the first thing that I encountered, or the first couple of issues that I encountered, was and were fixed 11 in the 11th month. So, and mind you, obviously, anyways, I'm not going to talk about too much this, but what I did is I saw an issue. I didn't let the issue linger, nor move into production knowing that it was an issue. I pay attention, and I was able to QA myself this issue in order to understand what the problem was. Made one simple change to the code that I showcase you, and all your problems will be gone. So essentially, you need to do two things. I keep talking about this. Now we're almost at the end of the video. Like I said, I was going to tell you what they were. Changes. These were my changes. Look at yours. Look at your file. Look at my file. They're different, right? They're different. Your file, my file is different. Your file, my file is different. Right? Your file is the red here. My file is the green. Your file is the red here. My file is the green. Go for it. Alright, so essentially, by me making this change, I fix an issue where, as you can see, this guy throws a not found. You guys know what a not found is? What is a not found? I'm sure you guys know. I'm not going to talk about that. So, when this guy here gets called inside the middleware, in my case, I have this composed middleware which takes 3 different middlewares and changes them together in order. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure how yours is. Most likely yours is just one giant file. Lord have mercy. Um, but if not, and if even if it's organized, the issue will rely in here, and the way to fix it will be to pay attention to your middleware, put a debugger in the middleware, log something, look at the server logs, and you'll catch it. And if that does not happen, you can reach me at coach1ai.com. I'll be there. Just not sure if you'll be able to afford me. Maybe coaching, 101s. Not sure. I haven't put a price on it yet. But moving on. Issue at hand. That's how you fixed it. Everybody that has this issue, or everybody most likely will be facing this issue at the moment. If you have internalization in your Next.js application, and you have logic in your middleware, and you don't know what's going on, and you think there's something going on in your site, and you think that there's something going on in your site, check your middleware. Check your middleware. Pro tip number 1, check your middleware. If you do that, at least on Next.js, this framework, you will be probably top 1% developer if you check the middleware before you do anything else. So there you go. Another pro tip from a pro. That's not me creating content. So sorry, creators. I am a creator that can create, not just influence. Ouch. But again, bite me. I'm just starting to create content, so help me. I'm building my personal brand. I figure that this is a good way to start doing such, and why not just help somebody out, showcasing on, what is the way of fixing the problem, taking the time, and all I'm doing here is showcasing that we encountered this issue, we fixed it a year ago, and the results are that you get, a site that works, a site that loads on the same framework, following the same paradigm, utilizing the tool properly. That's all. So, it just takes a little more time. It just takes a little more experience. And even if it takes more experience, in corporate, it would have taken a lot of time for them to be able to have the time to look at the issue. So, right, I understand the whole ecosystem. And working in corporate, I can tell you that, things are going to be moving slow, very slow. So if this is in agile and it's taking 2 weeks for them to fix this, it's a very slow process, and nothing to bark on agile or anything for that matter, but it's 2025, it's June 15, it's 12:22 a.m. Been recording for almost 2 hours. Technology is about solving problems. I like building systems. I've been building systems for close to 2 decades. I love scaling systems, and I want to see them succeed. They're already successful, so it's not like they need me or I need them more than they need me. I'm using them as a use case, and I'm just showcasing if they were my client and they were come to talk to me about how could I fix their problem. That's how I would have come and provided my service and helped them and figure out in 2 minutes, hey guys, your problem is around here. By the way, the issue is the middleware, right? So yeah, I think that now I can go back into this here and thank this person, Grant Cardone, for doing it, because this is inspiring me into jumping into creating content. And it's not about the money figure, or reaching that number. It's just understanding that you can, if you find the right problem to solve, rather than, oh, I could have gone there. It's just a middleware issue. Look, he just talked about fixing the string. Yeah, you saw how easy the problem was to solve. But why nobody fixed it, or why did it took so long for them to be able to fix that problem or understand that where the problem was, right? And that's where you come in. That's where experience comes in. That's something you can never knock. And right, I'm just showcasing that also, right? For my case, I'm not a billionaire yet, but I'm my goal is to try to do this before the end of the year. Make $1 million before the end of the year. That's the bet I'm going to put on myself. Not you, but if they were my clients, I would have been able to close that bet today, and I wouldn't have to wait 6 months following the conventional pathway of consulting, of how consulting works, and how, if they were to hire me through my agency, right? And the reason why I'm jumping into content creation is because this is the second time I started my agency, an agency for building content like such. But I have taken the time and not taken the time to do it, and always thought that I could. And I guess this is perfect timing. So I decided to jump into this, and follow this model. And like I mentioned, I wanted to use PopMart. I saw a problem. I looked at the website for 2 minutes. I was like, "Whoa, why don't nobody's talking about this, and why nobody's talking about how to fix it?" And now you can't. So I guess you're welcome. And this is my goal. Don't knock it. It's just, it might sound crazy to you. It's a number. $1 million is actually not something that I fear, and if you do fear it, you'll probably never be able to reach it. But my number is way higher than that. I just put a number figure because I think I can reach that number before the end of the year. This is my personal take, and I want to put myself in that position where I'll be able to talk to clients like PopMart.com and say, "Hey guys, how you doing? You need a fractional CTO? You need a coach in tech? I'm your guy," right? And this is the whole beginning of that story. So now I'll show you how to fix the problem. I told you about my statement about this quote, and it's late. And yes, that's how you can fix it. So essentially, reach out. I'll make another video if there's a need to be, but I think they got it. Anybody can do this. Any other vibe coders could jump in and help them out if they want me to do it. You know where to reach me. I already said CoachJuanAI.com. And the website is brand new, so I started today. Tomorrow will be totally different. Well, I hope you have enjoyed it. These guys here were fun. I was fun. You were fun. I hope you enjoy it. this is what, a lot of people don't showcase or talk about nor know how to do. So, hi, welcome to my space, I guess. I'll try to be posting one of these a week. I don't have a set date yet. Like I said, I'm starting today creating content 100% of the time to reach that goal that I mentioned. But that's my personal goal. It's not for you guys to carry. It's for me. I just threw it out there. It's a thought. And so if you guys want PopMart to fix this, like the video, let them know that there are solutions. And I could be wrong. This could be just a whole total rant. But when I saw this performing that day, I connected the dots, and I went ahead and took advantage of it and turned it into a video and showcase how a startup needs a CTO, a fractional CTO early on, and they can help them fix these problems early on, because you don't have a scalability problem, you have a distribution problem. And in systems that happens a lot, and most of the systems are meant to be clocked up, and they operate in such ways that even clocked up they perform X, right? So the voltage of whatever the output you're expecting to get, as long as it's minimal, some companies will bypass it and be like, sure, that's fine, no problem, as long as we can continue this. When the problem happens, then you throw money at it, you scale infrastructure, but you forget about the circuit. If you fix a circuit, you take the time to understand how the system works, regulate it properly, do some UAT, QA, right? Most of the companies have full teams and QA teams and departments of departments and departments. So it could be multiple teams, right? This could be a huge department, like I mentioned, and it could take years in order for them to even pick up the ticket to know that, hey, I want to work on this bug. So I'm not even saying, hey guys, go fix it tomorrow. It might be even impossible for them to do so, just because of the infrastructure and how their system is set up. But there are ways for them to disrupt it, and if they need help, I can help them. Yep. So I started with the problem, show you what the problem was. I try to explain high level. I went down deep, went technical. Sorry, I blacked out. Went back then, showcase the different scenarios, explain what the pain points, right? I try to keep somewhat entertainment what's very boring in the tech side, but I wanted to give a full scope of what actually looks like as a client and you working for me. And this actually would have been like 5 minutes of the diagnose. I just went on a rant and I gave you a whole hour just because if I were to show you what I do in an hour of my time, you probably wouldn't be able to digest this quite a bit. And I just did this, right? Like I just looked at this website for 2 minutes. I didn't look at the code. If they would have given me, if I would have got access to the code, it would be a whole totally different conversation that we're probably having right now. And probably I wouldn't even do so because that's not what I do anymore. I'm creating content. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun.